This is KGW News at Sunrise.
And we start this hour of Sunrise with breaking news in Northeast Portland. Portland firefighters responding to this huge fire at what we believe is an abandoned building near Northeast 99th and Irving. We'll have more details on what's happening there in Northeast Portland this morning coming up in just a moment. Plus,
thousands of U.S. students walked out of school to protest gun violence. We followed some of them here in Portland as they marched downtown demanding change.
And take a look at this. The biggest cargo ship to dock at the Port of Portland is sitting on the Columbia River right now. Where it came from and where it's headed next.
And it's day 4 of KGW Sunrise Exploring Your Career Options Week. Today, we're talking about you and how to talk during an interview. Coming up in about 15 minutes, how you can go in better prepared.
talking about eye contact this morning, making eye contact right now with that camera right there. Christina's here, Brenda's here, of course. Rod Hill still has the day off, so Chris McGinnis handling weather duties. What do you have for us?
I've got a whole day of rain for you.
Oh, wow.
Winter, winter. All right, let's go ahead and give you the live look right now at radar. Southwest Washington, Northwest Oregon. You know what? From California to Canada, it is raining this morning up and down the I-5 corridor. We'll put this into motion over the last 3 hours. It's not terribly heavy rain for the most part, but the rain intensity will likely pick up a little bit later this afternoon. So a wet drive into work and school and a wet drive home. Right now it's 46 degrees at PDX, and the plan for today, all day rain, and there's more. We'll throw in some wind later this afternoon with a high in the lower 50s.
Chris, thank you. We start off this morning with the breaking news we mentioned just a second ago. This is a live picture from Northeast 99th and Irving, where Portland fire crews are working a large fire at that abandoned building. So this call came in just after 2 o'clock this morning. We do believe this is the site of the old Elks Lodge, which caught fire last December. A public information officer from Portland Fire is on the way. We will continue to update you as we learn more.
We're also covering this second piece of breaking news this morning in Northeast Portland. Police are investigating a shooting that left 2 people dead in the Woodlawn neighborhood. Officers responded to a shots fired call right around 9:15 last night. They first found one person dead near Northeast 22nd and Lombard, and after continuing their investigation, they found a second person dead nearby. Lombard remains closed this morning between Northeast 18th and 22nd Avenues, and Northeast 22nd is also closed from Lombard to Deacon Street. So far, police haven't reported any arrests.
I actually really like to see that. I was like, man, all the way up there, come and support down here. I like to see that.
Columbine supports East. That was one of the first things these students saw in Colorado when they returned to school yesterday. It was their first day back at East High School after a student shot and injured 2 administrators last month before turning the gun on himself.
The same day, there was a nationwide call for to address more gun violence inside American schools. That includes at Uvalde High School, where 19 students and 2 teachers were killed almost a year ago.
From California to Massachusetts, thousands of American students pleaded for solutions to gun violence. The advocacy group Students Demand Action organized this walkout, and they had a clear message for lawmakers: do more to stop the violence.
Shootings are terrible, and people shouldn't have to be scared of going to school every day.
It's just scary to think that at any moment there could be someone who enters our building with bad intentions and shoot fellow class members.
Adults in our country have failed us by letting this happen, and by letting this happen so many times over and over.
And this is in response to the Tennessee school shooting in Nashville that killed 3 9-year-old students and 3 adults just over a week ago. President Joe Biden has repeatedly called on Congress to take action on gun laws, saying executive orders can only do so much.
Several Portland students have been victims of gun violence this school year. Some local students joined those nationwide protests in Portland yesterday. KGW's Tim Gordon followed along as they marched downtown.
What do we want? What do we want now?
They came out at noon, not for a lunch break, but to march. Students from Lincoln High School carrying signs made their way downtown. At Terry Shrunk Plaza, they joined other students, including middle schoolers from the private Northwest Academy in Portland. Their mission, to be heard on gun violence, to call out the NRA, gun makers, and lawmakers.
Why have you not taken action? Why do you only care that it should be your right to own a gun? Why do you not care that it should be our right to live?
That from a 12-year-old. And another young voice had this to say.
I believe that every place should be a safe place. And we should know no one deserves to die, especially at a young age, from a gun. Some psychopath that wants to just go around and kill children.
Our blood, your hands!
Fear is a unifying force.
People over profit! There has been no change made. Not in my 17 years of life, and it is sickening.
And these students, these kids, are unified and angry that gun violence is now the leading cause of death for people their age.
5 dead in Texas, 20 dead in Florida, however many children, and I fear that my family could be next. We don't deserve to die at the hands of just terrible people. And that is why we act instead of standing back, instead of assuming that someone else is going to do it for us. Instead of assuming that there is nothing we can do, we must act, because otherwise, nothing gets done.
After about a half hour of speeches here at Terry Shrunk Plaza, the students set off to march and spread their message against gun violence throughout downtown Portland. Marching the blocks around the Downtown Justice Center and Federal Courthouse, they kept up the message that gun violence in schools or anywhere else in the U.S. is out of control.
Your hands! Our blood!
Delivered with urgency as students continued on to Portland City Hall,
And gun violence!
where they stopped to rally once more.
Stop the silence!
In downtown Portland, Tim Gordon, KGW News.
Other headlines this morning. A bill in the Washington legislature to ban assault-style weapons has passed through the House and cleared a Senate committee. It would ban the sale and transfer of this type of gun, but people who already own one could legally keep it. If the bill passes and the governor signs it into law, it would take effect immediately. Police have made an arrest in a shooting that killed a woman in a Hillsborough bar on Sunday. Officers took Sane Delgado Venegas into custody yesterday. The 23-year-old is charged with second-degree murder, attempted murder, and felon in possession of a firearm. The victim worked at Kim Red Rose Bar. According to police, Venegas was part of a group that was asked to leave the bar shortly before the shooting. And Idaho Governor Brad Little signed a bill into law yesterday, making it illegal for an adult to help a minor get an abortion without parental consent. The law is the first of its kind in the U.S. and creates a new crime known as abortion trafficking. Anyone convicted of breaking that law will face 2 to 5 years in prison. And those are some of your Thursday morning headlines.
Also, take a look at this. It is the biggest ship to ever dock at the Port of Portland. This is video from our KGW Fly 8 drone. At a whopping 1,200 feet long, the MSC Katy arrived yesterday from Seattle and will be offloading nearly 1,000 containers. After that, it'll head back to Vancouver, BC.
All right, Chris McGinnis is once again in for Rod Hill this morning. Christopher, I talked earlier that the first few days this week were kind of rainy days.
Drippy.
This week, or today I should say, absolutely.
A bucket of water.
Yeah,
Today's
right?
a bucket of water. Yeah. Today's going to be an all-day raid. Up in the Cascades, it is snow. We'll take you to Timberline real quick. I bring this up because the boatload of snow that they've had over the last couple of days may begin to melt just a little bit below the ski resorts. Up at Timberline, it's snowing. Cascade passes that were getting wet this morning, and for the rest of us, we were waking up to rain. It's 46 last check at PDX. Rain, again, on the radar scope for all of southwest Washington and northwest Oregon, with the snow levels inching up towards 5,500 feet. You can see the progress this rain has made over the last 3 hours. And, you know, if you tune in 2 hours from now, the radar will probably look the same. If you tune in at noon, the radar will probably look the same. The point is it's going to rain all day, and Futurecast backs me up on that. Also, some snow across portions of central and eastern Oregon in the higher terrain and in the Cascades, but you got to go up again to about 5,500 feet on the west slopes of the Cascades before we see any rain. Eastern Oregon probably dry until late in the day. The west side of the state, though, getting wet. And I think our wettest time of the day, by the way, is later on this afternoon, evening, actually, probably after dinner, when a cold front finally gets a little bit of a kick to the east and you see these yellow blobs kind of lining up along I-5. Our model is picking up about the time of that frontal passage through the Willamette Valley. So I think that's when our heaviest rain comes in, but nonetheless, it's going to be a wet day up and down the I-5 corridor, pretty much from California south or north to Canada, right? Up and down the I-5 corridor. And rainfall amounts today on the order of maybe a half an inch here in the valley, and then the rain tonight and early tomorrow will bring our storm total up to about an inch here in Portland. So pretty significant rain event for sure. Rainy and windy at the coast. South winds gusting to maybe 50 miles an hour at times. Not so breezy in the gorge, but certainly wet with highs near 55 in the Dalles. East wind 5 to 15. And as we hop over the Cascades, we're talking about increasing clouds with, whoops, I should fix that there. Sorry for the typo. Occasional rain and breezy snow levels east of the Cascades up to about 4,500 feet today. Late day rain, I think, in eastern Oregon. And temperatures up and down the I-5 corridor, again, not going very far. We're shooting for a high of about 53, maybe 54 here in Portland. Sun and showers tomorrow. If you're looking for a dry window, that window of sunshine, brief sunshine, is probably Friday and early Saturday before the next round of rain rolls in. Devin?
Thank you. Hey, have you ever sat in an interview and were asked a question you didn't have the answer for? Well, coming up after the break, tips you can use the next time you're in that position in an interview for a job, and how to answer that question that you don't have an answer for. It's in our series about exploring your career.
Also, a shout out. We want to know if you have a story that you think we should tell, or maybe a person that we should profile. Text or call us at the number on your screen, 503-226-5088. We'll be right back.